Hi, everybody. Sherri Leopold here. So excited to be with another beautiful Wow Warrior for 2026. I would love to introduce you to the amazing Lynda Bergh Herring. Welcome, Lynda, and congratulations on being a 2026 honoree.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it so much.
Oh, you know what? You have deserved every bit of it, and you have lived the most amazing, interesting life. I hope people are going to connect with you, or we're going to tell you how to do that later because you have the most fascinating, one of the most fascinating stories of anyone I've ever met. But I want to ask you a few questions today so that people can get to know you. And I first want to ask you, Lynda, what does it mean to you to be a woman of worth, a wow warrior?
Wow. Funny start. That is an excellent question. It means so much because so many of us ladies grow up wondering what we're worth, if we're worth whatever we're doing, if we're ever going to be successful, if we're ever going to help somebody. I've always, since I was a kid, done things to help kids, even though I don't have any. And so it means the world that I was invited to be a part of this and that I'm being honored now is just amazing. We're here to help.
Spoken like a true wow warrior, because that is one of the criteria is always lifting others and having that giving heart that you do have, Lynda. And that's one of the things I cherish about you is all the work that you've done in helping children. And I hope people will connect with you and learn more about that work that you're doing. So I want to ask you, was there a moment during your journey to owning your own worth? Because it is a process. It's not something that happens instantaneously, right? It's a growth process and a journey for most women. Is there some significant moment that happened where it became apparent to you, or something that happened that was a catalyst for that to your understanding?
I grew up as a dancer, a ballerina. When I got out of that, I was in law enforcement briefly. And then I started working as a private investigator, which was something I never thought I would do. But even though I was obsessed with Nancy Drew as a kid, like everyone in my age group. But when I started working as an investigator very early on, I worked, first of all, a missing child case that was really a trafficking case. But there was another really scary case that I worked. And I walked right into it. And even though I was terrified, I got right in the middle of what was going on and I did my job and I did it successfully. So I think that was when I thought, okay, there's nothing to be afraid of. Cautious and observant, it's important, but I didn't have to be afraid.
I love that, and how inspiring. And knowing that you would be equipped with whatever it was that you needed in that moment. That's that internal confidence, right? Shining through. Awesome. Thank you so much. What an interesting story. See, y'all need to know she went from ballerina to law enforcement to private eye. You just got a snapshot of her incredible journey that I was talking about. Oh my goodness. So I want to ask, and you've answered this a little bit, but I want to ask, who is it that you, Lynda, are called to serve, and why does this matter to you?
I'm called to serve kids. And when I first started working as an investigator, one of the very first cases I worked was a little girl who was kidnapped, brutally abused, and then sold for sex. So she was trafficked. They didn't call it that. It was 43 and a half years ago. They didn't call it that. But since then, I've always been all about protecting children. And thankfully, I wish none of that existed, but thankfully, the last few years, finally, after 40 years of me yelling and screaming that this does exist, people are admitting it's happening. And so I'm getting more opportunities to try to educate kids in particular and parents regarding how to stay safe and avoid falling into those types of things. So protecting the kids.
Love that. And it's amazing. See, you don't just have one or two or three kids, you have hundreds, thousands.
Yeah.
I think that's really what the truth is here, right? Is you are that like voice for all those voiceless, and which is so incredibly inspiring. So I'd like to ask you, Lynda, along this journey, and you've truly been on a journey through your life, has there been a woman that has stood out to you that has inspired you, either in the way inspired you to live a life a certain way, or to the inspired you in the way that you lead?
There's actually two. So the first one is my first boss as a private investigator. She was a lady private investigator. There were very few then, and the smartest person I've ever met. She was also very eccentric. So people would look at me when I said she was the smartest person I ever met, and they'd look at me like, really? She was very eccentric, but she was brilliant. And I worked for her way longer than I had to before I went out on my own because I loved working for her so much. She was like a second mom to me. And then more recently, I met Opal Singleton, who is the founder and CEO of Million Kids, which is a nonprofit that I am now honored to be a member of the board. And she just, out of the goodness of her heart, one day decided she was going to go research and find ways to protect children. It wasn't something she had worked with before or anything like that, but like about 15 years ago, I believe is when she started. She got into this stuff and people acted like she was nuts half the time in the beginning too. So the two of them, they're like, you pick what you're going to do and you just do it. And you dive in and you don't give up. So both of them.
I love that. And that's the definition right there of a wow warrior. If you want something and you really believe in it and it's not there, you make it up yourself. You do it yourself, which is exactly what she did. And it's actually what you did, even though, you knew and could see what was going on and you found a way to bring it to light and educate and do something about it. So commend you for that and for her really creating a platform for you to do what's in your heart. So we acknowledge her, Opal, as well. So thank you for sharing that. And that is millionkids.org. Is that right?
Yes.
Thank you. People can check that out and the great work that Opal's doing as well. And that Lynda gets to proudly sit on the board of. I would now like to ask you, because none of us are immune to self-bullying, which is what I call it, as when we have that moment of self-doubt or we think, what am I doing? I'm not getting anywhere, or whatever these things we say to ourselves. How would you help another woman, or what would you say to another woman who was questioning their worth or were speaking to themselves in a way that was impeding their progress? What advice would you give them?
So I always end up going back to my work, but not too long ago, a mom who I know called me crying because her son had approached her and told her that he was being sextorted. So someone was trying to extort him over a photo that he sent out online. And she was crying and she said, what did I do wrong? And I said, you didn't do anything wrong. You did all the right things because your son came to you instead of doing something crazy. So I think we all need to remember no one's perfect, obviously. Not that I'm 100% confident every moment, but I try not to self-bully. If I get mad at myself, I go look at myself in the mirror and give myself a pep talk. It's my running joke, but hey, it's what we got to do. But yeah, people second guess themselves a lot, and usually there's no reason for them to do it. Like with that woman and then some other parents I've talked to with similar situations, they did the right thing. They're all doing the right thing. They just don't think they are. I like to assure them that they are.
I love that. And what a beautiful story, because as you're sharing that, I'm thinking to myself, you wonder sometimes whether you're making the impact that you want. But the thing is, she understood what one of the 5 key principles is of the Wow War platform in total, which is grace, and the C is community. She knew exactly when she felt low, she knew exactly who to reach to help. And that's that C of community. So kudos to you. Absolutely points at why you are a wow warrior, because you are that person that will lift another when she felt low. And which is the part of the community, is reminding her who she is and that she is everything she needs to be in that moment. Congratulations. What an amazing story. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Oh, of course.
I imagine that will inspire many, because we can all be that hand up that somebody needs. Lynda, as a Wow Warrior honoree for 2026, is there some kind of words of wisdom or a message that you would share with a woman who may be thinking she's meant for more, but she's still hesitating? Somebody that feels like they're meant for greatness, but they're just holding back. Would you have any words of wisdom for that woman?
It took me almost 40 years to get to the point where I could go out and do workshops talking about trafficking of kids and keeping kids safe. I didn't give up. I've been screaming about it for 43 years. It took 40 years until I finally met Opal, met a couple other people. We started speaking and doing things. Don't give up. Also, what someone else thinks of you, my grandma taught me this when I was very young. What someone else thinks of you is none of your business. So don't worry about what someone else is thinking or what they're saying about you. You know who you are, you know the real you. So it's none of your business what those people think. And who cares what they think?
I love that. Thanks, Grandma. See, descended from Wild Warrior stock right there. That's
My
amazing.
grandma was awesome. I was probably like 8 or 9 years old when she told me that. And I've always stuck to it. I'm like, I don't care what they think.
That's right. And Judgment Day, I don't think they're
That
gonna
right?
they're not gonna be there. So they're gonna have their own problems. So thank you so much for sharing. And we salute your grandma for that because she is definitely a trailblazer in believing in yourself. And that's awesome. I know people are gonna be inspired, and I absolutely 100% Lynda know they're gonna want to hear the rest of the story, as they say, because there's a whole story from the ballerina all the way to PI and helping children stay out of being trafficked. And that is a journey, but it's also one that is so inspiring to hear that journey. And I know they're going to want to connect with you. So where would they do that, Lynda?
The best way to find all of my stuff is at Linktree. So if you do Linktree/OC Lady PI, I'm all over social media. So if you search my name, you're gonna find me. It's either Lynda J. Bergh Herring or OC Lady PI. You will find me because I'm everywhere.
And there you go. And I absolutely 1000% promise you that you will be inspired when you spend a few minutes with Lynda. She is the epitome of a wow warrior who stands up and stands out as that unrepeatable miracle that she is exactly as she is, no qualifiers needed. She shines at every moment. So I hope you will connect with her at Linktree/OC Lady PI and connect with her, either that or on socials. You can find her. So congratulations again, Lynda, on being a Wow Warrior honoree for 2026. We are proud to have you as part of the Wow Warrior community.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be a part.
Thank you. And if anyone else is interested in learning more about the Wow Warrior platform or the network with the magazine and our shows and interviews and things like that, please don't hesitate to reach out to SherriLeopold.com where you can find out more about that. And we'll see you next time.